Dear participants, we are about to begin the session. You are in a 2.1 Zoom 2 sessions. Please make sure that you are in a correct slot. Today's theme topic is promoting sustainable development through lifelong learning. The session chaired by Professor Tamara Kalyani Veerasinghe, Head, Center for Environmental Studies and Sustainable Development, Senior Academic Staff Member of Faculty of Natural Science at the Open University of Sri Lanka. Professor Tamara? Professor Tamara? The session is over to you. Professor Tamara, we cannot hear your voice. Could you please... Professor Tamara, can you hear me? Can you hear us? Please check your microphones and check whether you are. No, we cannot hear you, Professor. Dear participant, please make sure, please change your ID according to the given instructions, because this session is recording and...
Hello, Harsha.
Yeah,
can
we can
hear me now?
Yeah, Professor. Yeah, we can hear.
Right. Okay, right. So very good morning to all the participants and the presenters of our session 2.1 of AAOU 2021. Right. Let me again welcome all of you. Right. It is my great pleasure really to welcome all the participants and for the online session. And today our theme is promoting sustainable development through lifelong learning. Right. So very important area, as you see, of the main theme of our conference, that is opening minds for sustainable future. Right. So there are 3 presentations lined up under this theme for this session. 2 are from Sri Lanka and 1 from India. So abstract numbers as indicated on the screen, the 77, 77, that is, I'll introduce the names later, and 95 and 157. Unfortunately, 97 will not be played, right? So before commencing the session, I have few announcements to be made, right? Please note that the allocated time for each presentation is 10 minutes, followed by 5 minutes session for questions and answers. However, due to current COVID problem, the global pandemic, this conference will be delivered through online platform and your presentations are already recorded, right? So, and the pre-recorded presentations will be played. During the presentation, please keep your microphones muted and turn off the videos. So once the presentation is over, the presenter can unmute the microphone and turn video on to participate in the Q&A session. And use the chat option or raise hand option to indicate your participation. But however, introduce yourself before joining the Q&A session, right? So let me now introduce our presenters and the titles of the presentation. For the first presentation will be on factors associated with student disengagement from learning, a review of the relevant literature. Author KD-RLJ Pereira. Over to you, KD-RLJ Pereira. It will be number 100.
This paper is based on a review of literature on the factors associated with low socioeconomic status students' disengagement in learning. So this paper was written based on a theme that emerged while reviewing literature for a larger research, that is my PhD study, which investigated early adolescence motivation and engagement in learning in low socioeconomic districts in Sri Lanka. And this review has attempted to incorporate several significant studies so that observed low socioeconomic status SES students disengagement in learning. So at the individual student level, low SES students present with cognitive issues, particularly short concentration periods and higher levels of distractibility, and also low SES is a major factor among high risk of disengagement categories in the middle years of schooling. Let's see what is engagement. So according to Slechy together with motivation, engagement is significant for improving the learning outcomes of all students. They consider motivation as a pre-requirement of an essential aspect for student engagement in learning. And many scholars believe that engagement stresses students' different patterns of motivation, cognition and behavior. Various forms of engagement have been described in the academic literature. So, including school engagement, study engagement and student engagement. So, this study focuses on the students' engagement with their school and study. There are many dimensions of student engagement. According to Finn and Williams, there are two dimensions, behavioral and psychological. And Fredericks et al., they mentioned dimensions as cognitive, psychological and behavioral. And also there is one vigor, dedication and absorption. And also there is a four-dimensional model comprising the academic, behavioral, psychological and cognitive dimensions. There are two approaches to engagement. North American model, it comprises cognitive, behavioral and emotional dimensions, while European model, it is associated with vigor, dedication and absorption dimensions. So the North American model of engagement is more appropriate to Sri Lankan educational context, and the engagement framework employed in this study is North American model of engagement, that is cognitive, behavioral and emotional dimensions. So in this study, engagement refers to those three types of engagement in learning. Then the research methodology, overarching research question is what are the factors associated with students' disengagement in learning in lower SES schools. And this literature review mainly focused on research articles and books that investigated the factors associated with students' disengagement in learning in lower SES schools. So then the literature was published in online journals, and the selected articles and books were read, and the information was tabulated according to the research question, and the data analysis was done using the thematic analysis. So the first theme I identified was family factor. So when considering the family factor, children in low SES families show low achievement levels over all school years. So, and SES families might be deficient in the essential resources to support their children, and increasing stress in those families is associated with children's low achievements in learning. And also, low SES adolescents get lower grades and tend to be drop out of education. So, in high income countries, children from low SES families have a higher chance of academic failure. Also, they have a greater likelihood of having low SES in later life. And also, some researchers found that a low SES family background is the prime indicator and risk aspect for having less education. Disadvantaged students do not achieve as well educationally as their privileged peers. And also, families who have elevated poverty, high joblessness, and live in low educational level neighborhoods have been found to employ fewer study focused activities with their children. And also, Nonoyama, in his study, he found that in all countries, 40 countries, family SES and background effects had a bigger influence on student achievement than SES on its own or school impacts. And in South West Ethiopian study also found that family food insecurity was clearly associated with student absenteeism and adolescents' poor academic performance. And another study found lack of role models, poor learning resources, and aggressive and violent behaviors as some of the reasons for this situation. And also, aggression and violence lessen school connectedness and increase absenteeism. Then the school factor. In relation to the school factor, it was found that the basic factor in student motivation and achievement is not the home background of students but the school and the teacher. Also, and it was found that school engagement was the main factor in determining whether a student continued in school or not. And also, factors affecting low achievement of low SES students were a 6-country sample, and it was suggested that factors related to the student-teacher, classroom, and school are the causes of dissimilarities in their achievement. And also, learning ambitions, higher learning ambitions, empathic consideration, and optimism for the future are considered as defensive factors contributing to the educational resilience of students in SES. And also, students from larger schools achieved better results, and the achievement in rural schools was lower than in urban and suburban schools. And when considering teachers' influence on low SES students, it was found that the lowest SES quartile students are regularly absent from school because of their fear of being embarrassed in the classroom, and also because of their teachers' low expectations of their achievement. And also, positive teacher expectations, help, and motivation have beneficial developmental impacts on students despite their vulnerable low SES situation. And also, teacher excellence in high poverty schools remains a significant policy aim for restructuring and development. And also, support given by the teacher for lower SES students might even assist to modify the negative relationship between poverty and educational achievement. And enthusiastic teacher who has a higher level of self-efficacy can disregard low SES, poverty, or adversities and assist in creating a friendly learning situation.
Welcome.
So, individual factors, they found that students with higher SES showed higher levels of emotional engagement with their school. Also, students' motivation and engagement had an influence on their achievement. And it could be concluded that young students from deprived environments frequently face numerous hurdles that obstruct their learning. Their position worsens if they do not have helpful surroundings in school and in their society. So, in this literature review, it has been found that family including neighborhood, school and teacher are directly associated with students' engagement in learning in lower SES schools despite individual factors. Therefore, these factors must be improved to increase lower SES students' engagement as well as their motivation in learning to enhance their participation in. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pereira, for your very informative presentation, and it had a lot of literature you have reviewed. And now the forum is open for discussion, the questions and answers. So anybody who wants to answer question, please turn your video and the microphone on. No questions, it seems. Ms. Pereira, I have a few questions from your presentation, right? So you are talking about the early adolescents. Now, is there any particular reason to select that group for this kind of study?
Yes, because there were some reasons, because when I was searching for, the records, that statistics of Sri Lankan dropouts, then I realized that is the range of that students. They tend to be dropout. That's what I have selected. And also because when we consider about the motivation and engagement, this particular age group is when we think about, when we consider in according to psychology, educational psychology, so they are kind of
more vulnerable.
tend to be not motivated and engaged because of their, because of their transition period, and that's what I have particularly selected that age group.
Yeah. Isn't there any kind of literature did you find out, kind of like any positive, more towards like the positive feedback, like their motivations, like the happening like now, because most of the literature indicates a negative relationships. Are there any positive relationships also for this SCS group?
Yes, then later on, actually, in my PhD study, then I proposed some mechanism, then how to develop their motivation and engagement in learning. Then, because this is based on my PhD study, then I focused only on negative factors, because I wanted to stress the problem. Then I focused, because that's a limitation actually in that study, then I focused only on negative factors. But later on I found, then I suggested some
positive aspects as well, right? So now I hope at the end of your study you may suggest some motivation factors, like for them, like to how best we can enhance their level of achievement. And maybe you would suggest one day, like from the school side as well as from the society side, so how best we can achieve this kind of how we can overcome this problem, in other words.
Yes, actually I proposed a model, then how to motivate and engage students in SES backgrounds. That was the main finding of my PhD study.
But it's a very good kind of review, and your literature, maybe I think your literature review for your PhD program, right? So thank you very much once again for your excellent work and hard work, an area where we should really look at from the perspective of a developing country, and also even the global scale, right? Thank you very much, Ms. Ruandika. And big applause to you, right? Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
So the second presentation is the next would be abstract number 95, elements of employability in ODL programs, a case study of IGNOU, Nikhil Kant. Authors are Nikhil Kant, K.D. Prasad, and Kumari Anjali. Right. Oh, I think Nikhil Kant may be the presenter. Over to you.
And my fellow researchers participants. It gives me immense pleasure that I have been given this opportunity to present my paper entitled Elements of Employability in ODL Programs, a Case of IGNOU. The authors of the paper are Nikhil Kant from School of Management Studies, IGNOU, K.D. Prasad from Regional Services Division, IGNOU, and Kumari Anjali from School of Sciences, IGNOU, India. At the outset, I place on record my heartfelt gratitude and thanks to the organizing committee of 34th Annual Conference of Asian Association of Open University held at Colombo, Sri Lanka. Education is considered to be critical in the achievement of sustainable development goals. Open and distance learning is expected to play a pivotal role, especially in the developing countries, in achieving SDGs. At the same time, developing countries face the concern of lack of employability elements in the program offered by higher educational institutions. There has been emergence and phenomenal growth of ODL as an important mode of higher education in previous several decades. This has added to the multiple concerns with the changing employment dynamics. This study is an attempt to make an analysis of the implied and unimplied learners' attitude on the issue of elements of employability in the programs offered by ODL. The study uses their feedback collected by IGNOU, which is across the globe known as a pioneer ODL institution for catering to the learning needs of the heterogeneous Indian population with multilingual and multicultural background. The objective of the study is to analyze the implied and unimplied learners' attitude on the issue of the elements of employability in the programs offered through ODL. The research methods employed in this study this is basically a descriptive study undertaken through a survey design fitting on the data collected through a survey questionnaire by IGNOU from learners. With the development in science and technology, newer education methods have been started to be tried for enhancing the quality of education and providing learners with the knowledge and skills required by employer and industries. Tremendous growth of ODL institutions in developing countries has been witnessed. The major reason of enrollment at universities is to graduate and get employment. Universities need to equip learners with the employability skills. Universities globally produce graduates and majority of them struggle to get employment due to gap between acquired skills and skills required by employers. ODL learners need to acquire employability skills. In many countries, employers do not recognize some of the programs offered by ODL, while in other countries, by and large, the majority of programs are recognized for employment purposes. Some prospective employers are skeptical about employing ODL graduates, while other employers give equal weight as given to the conventional degrees. Some specific industries show employers' preference for holders of traditional degrees. Employers are uncertain about whether or not the quality of ODL learners was comparable to learners of conventional universities. Studies have shown that employment does not depend on the possession of a degree acquired through whatever means. Employers look for characteristics such as the personal attributes more. Sufficient empirical studies have not been conducted related to employability elements in ODL program. As regards the data analysis and results, the coefficient reliability of the questionnaire disseminated amongst learners was checked using Cronbach alpha, the value of which was substantially high, that is 0.9, hinting at the adequate reliability of the questionnaire. The initial questions were related to the general profile of the learners, followed by the questions to know their attitude towards employability skills are integrated into the syllabus, and the program will enhance your employability in the job market. This is the gender profile of the respondents, where 46.70% of the respondents were female and 53.27% were male. This shows the employment status of the respondents, where 64.81% were unemployed, while 35.19% respondents were employed. The age profile is shown in this figure. This shows the graphical representation of the responses received against the first question, employability skills are integrated into the syllabus. And this one is for the second question, that is the program will enhance your employability in the job market. This is the result that was shown after the analysis of the data, and it shows that the mean for this particular question, employability skills are integrated into the syllabus, was in excess of 3. That shows that majority of the responses were in favor. Similarly, for the second question, that the program will enhance your employability in the job market, the responses were in favor of this question. This one is for the first question, and the difference in the opinion, in the attitude of the employed and unemployed respondents. This one is for the second one. So the findings of the study suggest that there is a presence of elements of employability in the higher educational program offered in India by ODL institutions such as IGNOU. However, the attitude of employed learner is found to be more significant in favor than that of the unemployed learners, which underscore the urgent need to focus on plethora of issues to remove the challenges and barriers. So, as regards conclusion and recommendations, there is a need to tap the potential of ODL in view of its utility in this knowledge-dominated era in order to provide employment opportunity to the ODL learners requiring personal skills and industrial exposure. The potentials of ODL system with the higher quantum of flexibility, openness, and usage of ICT in addition to other various idiosyncratic and general characteristics need to be unlocked for achieving the goals related to employability and sustainable development. It can contribute not only to gross enrollment ratio but also to the better employment status in India, helping it achieve higher growth and sustainable development goals. Market search for the programs in demand can help in getting employment for the ODL learners rather than offering programs with no takers in the industries. Internship for the practicing ODL student might fetch hands-on experience for them and help ODL institution and the prospective employers cement the relations. Involvement of top executives in the production of program materials needs to be stressed, in addition to entering into MOUs or MOAs with them to increase employment opportunity for the ODL learners. Consultative meetings with executives, their sensitization and exposure to ODL methods can help transform their attitude towards ODL. A flexible ODL policy should be formulated to enhance employability in the job market, which will also reduce the unemployment rate in developing countries. The study gives direction not only to the future researchers but also to the policymakers, decision makers, and the government for formulating suitable strategies. Furthermore, however, a more expanded investigation needs to be undertaken. That's all from the authors. Let us be proactive. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I suppose the presenter is KD Prasad, right? Thank you so much. Please turn on your video.
Namaste.
Yeah. Good morning.
Yes, ma'am. This is Nikhil Kant, the corresponding author and the primary author.
Yeah, now it's all
Morning, ma'am.
thank you very much, Mr. Prasad, for your very informative and very effective presentation.
Ma'am, this is Nikhil Kant, the corresponding author and the primary author of.
Okay, right. That's so. Anil Kant, right. Okay, but it gave a really good picture about a very important area of employability. Really, in the ODL context, employability is very important area. So it gave a very insight into the employability area for the teachers and for the students and for the people who work in the ODL system to open our eyes. So thank you very much for your presentation. Now the presentation is open for questions and answers. So anybody who is wishing to question, please indicate your name and then go ahead with your question. Right? There are 26 participants. Please join with us with questions. It seems there are no questions from the participants. Like Ms. Nikhil Kant, I have few questions from you, right? Because
My
this
pleasure, ma'am, please.
employability area is also a area, very important area with which I'm also very much interested, right? So now, as you said, now your conclusions indicate that still the policymakers are not very much prepared to accept the ODL graduates in the system. That is, this is based on the IGNOU population, I suppose.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, right.
Ma'am, please,
Yeah.
please ask.
Yeah. So now my question is like what kind of elements have you incorporated into your curricula, right, to make your the students to be more productive for the society?
Actually, ma'am, when we talk about in broader sense, there are national education policy which has recently been introduced in India last year only.
Yeah.
So there has been an emphasis on ODL also for, it has given the permission to different kind of institutions to offer ODL programs. So there will be more competitions also in the market. But the thing is that whenever the government policy comes out, that make more emphasis on the achievement of gross enrollment ratio, that in developing country we have been much behind.
Yeah.
So there is some likelihood that more emphasis on achieving gross enrollment ratio might dilute the standards of ODL programs in the times to come. So we need to be wary of that. At the same time, as regards IGNOU, we have been proactive at IGNOU, and there are certain things that we have been doing that other open university in the country and even other developing countries also have been following. Like we have been having our placement sale, and our Dr. K.T. Prasad, who is also my co-author, he has been handling these things since he is not attending right now. So having an effective placement sale is really something that gives an opportunity to the learners and the university to have a better relationship with the industry, academia, and for that matter, we have been having a very fruitful sessions, interactions with the industry, and not in thousands but in lakhs of learners have been getting certain sort of support mechanism for them in getting employment, primary employment, or even promotion in their employment.
Yeah, that is a very good move, really, as far as your country is concerned, actually. So it's a kind of like, do they provide the students to IGNOU like through the industries, or so is there a kind of relationship between the IGNOU and the industry? So annually they provide some sort of quota, the employed crowd to your programs?
Actually, not there is a certain quota that they provide, but it's still due to certain continuous interaction with them and the relationship with them and the MOU and MOA with them.
Yeah.
So they have been getting facilitated at regular intervals. There have been sessions for placement cell, and they get benefited by the activities of the university.
Yeah. Now, what is the employer's view really about your products, like about your students, like?
As regards the professional and vocational degrees, they have been having positive views towards the program offered by ODL and especially IGNOU, and we have been having a good relationship with the industry. Employers like Hero Honda, and not to name a few, there are certain big companies in the industry which have been coming forth to take learners from our university. So this is what we have achieved, and we think that we will be able to do more in days to come.
Yeah. Any idea, really, any percentage? You have any idea about the percentage of non-employed students who are getting jobs after graduation, like?
Right now, I will not be able to elaborate on that.
Yeah.
But, if that is needed, I would be providing.
Okay, right. Thank you very much, Mr. Nikhil Kant. It's a very good presentation with lot of information, right? And I hope you will continue this kind of study for the future as well, and will come up with proper solutions after discussing with the policymakers and all the designers, right? Thank you very much, Nikhil Kant, right?
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Yeah. So we'll get on to the next presentation, that is abstract number 157, right? The role of digital literacy and learning approaches to promote I'm sorry, I think I have to stop, I think. Harsha, you may have to have something else, no, to match the time.
Hello,
Hello,
Professor.
you may have to have something else, no? The 97 presentation is not there, I think. I was informed.
We don't have
is-
97, instead 157.
Yeah, but we can't
157.
take it forward, no, because of the time difference. Yeah. So I have to wait.
Okay,
I
I'll get
think.
my advice from
Yeah,
the.
you do something
Yeah.
for this
Could you-
time until 11:15.
Give me a 2 minutes. I
Okay,
will,
sure,
I will
sure.
respond
No
to you.
problem. Yeah, okay.
Oh. Professor? Professor Tamara?
Yeah,
Professor
yeah,
Tamara?
yeah, Harsha, yeah,
Okay.
Harsha. Yeah.
Now shall we go with next for the next sessions?
Yeah, no problem.
Right, yeah.
Professor Rajendra, is that okay? Going by the second one, they say we'll go with the one is missing. We have to wait, or it's a local one. They say we'll go. Yeah, we have to wait, Harsha, I think, because otherwise no,
Okay.
they are ready, but the participants are from all over. No? Yeah. Yeah, we'll wait. No problem. Only 5 minutes more. Can you play something else like any?
Yeah, okay, sure. We will play
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, they are doing.
On all four directions are works in stone and roundels of gold, broad the quadrangles and mansions of mighty mould, tall the gabled houses and balconies. Where else? Not on earth, but in heavens are those of such elegance and girth. Sri Lanka, a nation steeped in history. A nation with incredible cultural diversity. A nation of heavenly heights and purity. A nation of legendary beaches. A nation whose capital, Colombo, resonates with tradition and modernity. Occupying a pride of place in this unique nation and the city is the Open University of Sri Lanka, OUSL, Sri Lanka's premier ODL institution. And we are ready to welcome AAOU to Sri Lanka in 2020. Our venue is the Cinnamon Grand Hotel, which offers exquisite conference facilities plus a blend of the global cultures. Our theme for AAOU 2020 is Opening Minds for a Sustainable Future, reorienting ODL to surmount challenges. With this theme, we intend to create intellectual spaces and opportunities for reflecting on the UNESCO concern of education as a means of sustainable development.
As a founding member of the AAOU, the Open University of Sri Lanka celebrates its 40th anniversary in 2020. We offer AAOU our inimitable and peerless experiences to open minds and cultivate the notions of sustainable education.
OUSL and AAOU. Let us expand the horizons of ODL.
Right. Okay. Okay, now we are now moving to our last. Is that okay, Harsha? Now ready?
Yeah, it is okay. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, we are now moving to the last presentation for the session 2.1, abstract number 157. The role of digital literacy and learning approaches to promote sustainable lifelong learning in Sri Lanka. Authors are Asanka Seniviratna, Varuni Nilwala, Randima Gunasekara, and Varuni Nisansala. Over to you, Asanka Seniviratna.
Welcome. This is the topic of our research, potential of learning approaches to promote sustainable lifelong learning, and role of digital literacy. I am Asanka Seneviratne. Our group members are Varun Nilwala, Randi Magunasekara, and Varun Nisansala. Outline of the presentation: research purpose, research problem, theoretical background and hypothesis, conceptual framework, methodology, data analysis, findings, and discussion. This research was conducted to assess the potential of learning approaches to promote sustainable lifelong learning and examine the role of digital literacy. Research problem. The COVID-19 pandemic created the new platforms for online learning, replacing traditional classroom-based and blended learning. Many practice this teaching learning process more than 1 year all around the world, and with the controlling of COVID-19 pandemic. Many stakeholders try to assess the effectiveness of different learning approaches. Learners as well as educators attempted to comment on different teaching and learning approaches and the role of digital literacy in supporting the academic activities. Still, there are gray areas to be investigated as which approach is centrally influenced to learning outcomes, because each method has its inherent pros and cons. Therefore, this research was conducted to assess the potential of learning approaches to promote sustainable lifelong learning and to examine the role of digital literacy. Theoretical background and hypothesis. We develop our conceptual framework based on the theoretical supports. Some of the theoretical and literature support we extracted just to mention. According to one, cognitive engagement in the classroom can be categorized as psychological state in which students put in a lot of effort to truly understand a topic and in which students persist studying over a long period of time. So classroom-based learning being one of the traditional method, we hypothesize significant influence on online, significant influence on learning outcomes. Then development of identified blended learning as one of the top 10 trends to emerge in the knowledge delivery industry. Just after the classroom base, we developed another hypothesis: blended learning significant influence on learning outcome. The analysis of students' contribution to online discussions provide evidence of effective collaboration in this online environment. Even with the admit of the COVID, this online trend were so highlighted. So we developed another hypothesis, assuming online learning significantly influence on learning outcomes. Finally, having understanding of the significance of digital literacy, we quote here, having digital literacy requires more than just the ability to use softwares or to operate a digital device. It includes a large variety of complex skills such as cognitive, motoric, sociological, and emotional that users need to have in order to use digital environment effectively. So we hypothesize digital literacy mediates the relationship between online learning and learning outcomes. These are our 4 hypotheses, and with the support of that, we develop the conceptual framework. According to that, there are 3 direct relationships: classroom-based learning, blended learning, online learning significantly influence on sustainable learning outcome, and digital literacy mediate the relationship between online learning and sustainable learning outcomes. Research methodology. Philosophical stance is positivism. Research approach is deductive. Methodological approach is quantitative. Research purpose is explanatory nature. Research strategy against survey. Time horizon is a cross-sectional. This was done during the second wave of the COVID in Sri Lanka. Data source primary. Population learners in higher educational institute in Sri Lanka. Sampling technique. Simple random sampling. Data collection tool, self-administered questionnaire through Google Form. We collected 386 out of 2,000 questionnaires distributed, effective response rate somewhere 19.3. These are the demographic profile of the sample. Out of 386, 66.6% of them are female and 33.4% are male. There are 6 age categories and 3 ethnicity clusters. Validity and reliability of the data were assured through convex alpha value more than 0.7. Composite reliability and AV were calculated to make sure convergent validity, and AV is squared calculate in order to make sure the discriminant validity. It is more or less close to 0.5 and fairly greater than the corresponding correlation values of the independent and dependent variables. So our validity and reliability of the research model is fairly stated. Data analysis were mainly done through multiple regression. You can see R value is 76.5, where adjusted R is 58.0. Since F value is significant, so we can conclude model is accepted. Coefficients of the multiple regression, you can see classroom-based learning, blended learning, and even digital learning, all direct relationship are significant, and online learning is insignificant, that is 0.061. So when it comes to the hypothesis testing, other than digital literacy, we ran a mediation relationship for that. Direct hypothesis, out of 3, 2 accepted, 1 rejected. When it comes to the digital literacy, it says it mediates the relationship between online learning and learning outcomes. Findings and discussion. Irrespective of the fact that online learning is part and parcel during the COVID-19 global pandemic, this study empirically validates that online learning does not significantly influence on learning outcomes. Digital literacy mediates the relationship between online learning and learning outcomes. Classroom-based learning and blended learning significantly influence learning outcomes. Finding and discussion. In Sri Lanka, still many students willing to classroom-based learning and blended learning. Online learning had not been really successful in local regions. The reason may be lack of ICT infrastructure, low digital literacy, domestic as well as workplace barriers for online learning. Since digital literacy is mediating the relationship between online learning and learning outcomes, rate of technology adoption should be enhanced in Sri Lanka. We suggest to have longitudinal study. It would be conducted in the future in order to assess the future viability of online learning of learners at higher educational sector in Sri Lanka. That's the end of our presentation. Best wishes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shasa, for your very timely and very effective presentation. Actually, all of us have now, as the members of the higher educational institutions, we are moving towards online learning. So this kind of study would be very useful for us to decide where we should go afterwards with this kind of global pandemic. Right now, the forum is open for questions and answers. So you can, the people who are participating can unmute and make your video on and ask the question, please.
Yes, Mr. Siniviratna, I have actually this is not a question, a concern. Can you hear me?
Yes, Ms. Ruandika. I can hear you.
Yes. Yes, the thing is that regarding the convex alpha, then you have got 0.849 also for one of the aspect, right?
Okay.
then it's kind of that is a very high amount, because that comparing to the other values that you have received. Then for that aspect, if you can show me that
Yeah,
the
please.
present, maybe it's not possible, no? Then
Okay, wait. Further down, I think. Marshall. Data analysis area, I think.
Data analysis, please.
Yeah.
yes,
Yes, Ruandika, please go ahead. You can again.
no, not that one actually. The findings and maybe
Here.
findings.
Fi-
Yes,
finding-
here.
Yeah.
The last one you have received, that you have got 0.849, no?
Yes.
That is a very, I mean that. Okay, then what is that aspect? May I know that?
Actually, that is Ruandika, learning outcome. Learning outcome. We use actually Bloom's taxonomy. So there are learning outcomes mentioned in that literature. So we use that one as our dependent variable. So basically, I also felt it is these are actually true data, so no manipulations. Even you can see AV squared also. AV squared
Yes.
not
Maybe that
really.
that tool has a high internal consistency, no? Among the items.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe.
So what I want to say, I want to show you the true picture. Even once you check the AV squared, it is not fairly high, less than 0.5. This
Yes.
convex alpha value, I felt it is relatively high, but I incorporate the true value. But when I check even discriminant, what's not discriminant, multi-coordinate also not violated here. Therefore, I put as it is. Are you concerned about why is it high or yes, madam?
Yes, that's okay. That's okay. And also, I have another concern, because this is kind of a purely quantitative research. Then later on, you can think about qualitative aspect also, no?
Yes. Yeah. Even we expect to have a longitudinal study because this online trend came very soon during the COVID-19. Our concern was why students, even though we implemented online, most of the students actually their potentiality was very low as we felt. That is why we just wanted to analyze why is it like that, because still even this outcome you can see students like classroom based and blended also. So as I guessed that online learning did not meet the learning outcome.
Yes. Yes, it's a good, I mean, interesting. It's an interesting study. Yes.
So Mr. Nikhil Kanta wants to ask a question. Yeah,
Okay.
First of all, I can congratulate the author for having this study. There's no question that I have to ask. I have a few suggestions that I would like to give to the author. First, did you ever think that, though it might be looking like a question, did you ever think that there should be some moderating variable in this first? And second, the suggestion is that there is one more advanced technique and tool, that is process macro approach. That confirms whatever you have confirmed in the same or CFA analysis. So if you go for that, that would be quite handy, and that would be confirming your results doubly. Process macro approach. So this is quite new, and I have started to use it the last 1 or 2 years, and there is plenty of support for that. I mean, if you happen to go through the website, someone from Russia, he has developed this tool. You would be able to get all sort of support free of cost, and academic support will be free of cost, obviously. So these two are suggestions only, or if you would like to elaborate on that moderating variable, that might be a limitation, but again, I would like to ask.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yes, Nikhil, thank you. Thank you, Nikhil. Actually, here we did not test the moderating as such. We used the sober test according to the Baron and Kenny's approaches. We used the mediation because what we understood, the student also shows some sort of a
lethargy in using their technology, and they are really fear even for the online payment as such. Even online login, they demonstrated some sort of poor engagement. So therefore, we wanted to understand whether digital literacy or digital knowledge can play some mediating role. So we did not run moderation relationship. We used the Sobel test, and with that we found it is a mediation relationship. So,
Yeah.
and it was supported by Baran and Kenny's 4 steps.
Yeah. Oh, there are 76. There are 76 models, and 1 or 2 has to be applied for mediating and moderating variable. So I found it very interesting, and for the new students who are coming in the research, they would be finding it handy because it's a very easy thing that I found. That's like an add-on on the SPSS and sort of thing. Thank you very much for giving
Thank
this
you,
much time.
Nikhil. I will incorporate process also in the coming studies.
Yeah.
That is also really interesting for the moderation. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Asanka. I'm just.
Can I
Yeah,
raise
sure.
one question?
Yeah, sure.
Asanka, what is the category of sample you have chosen here? Is it Open University students or from where you have selected this sample category?
Madam, yeah, actually we prepared Google form and we distributed that one. So majority of the respondents were from the Open University itself, but we found that some students from Colombo, Carania, even private university like Horizon, they have contributed to this one. Therefore, more than 50% from Open University, but some other universities also, undergraduates, have contributed to this one, madam.
Okay, thank you.
So there are around, we actually uploaded 2000, roughly 2000 or sometime little exceed, no more than that, 386 was the exact amount we used for this analysis.
Okay, Asanka, that means our students are not very much happy with the online online learning.
Yeah.
Yes, madam, that is true because
yeah, that's true. Actually, this is a very good eye-opening for all of us, really, to see like whether even though we conduct due to that, since there's no other option, right, we are going ahead, but it's a good eye-opening for us to rethink about like how best we can really improve this the setup we are using. And I am just thinking like whether do you think that your response rate is fairly less than 30%, like, so don't you think that you would be able to get a better idea if you can increase the response rate?
Yes, Professor, actually now this questionnaire was little lengthy. It takes around more than 15 minutes. I found even half finished questionnaire were even more than the full filled questionnaire online, because in the online you can see pending.
Yeah.
So we even sent second time also, some had response, but since it was convenience for this time period, we utilized this Google form method.
Yeah, I understand, because when online is, when there's hours kind of this kind of thing, even the Google form would be another sort of like disengagement for them. I think it's anyway, it's a very good study actually. I think the first time after this COVID pandemic, actually, I hear this kind of presentation. And thank you so much, Mr. Asanka and the team, for your wonderful presentation, right? So now we have come to the end of the session like 2.1 after having 3 very good and effective presentations, right? So let me just wrap up what we listened so far. With the first presentation, abstract number 77, the authors gave a very clear picture on how the low SEC group in the family setup could affect on the learning process. And with the second presentation, the abstract number 95, so we identified the possible elements of employability in ODL programs, and which is a very important aspect, and having a to have the sustainable ODL institute, and also an area where less research have been conducted, right? So with the last presentation, it became very interesting for many participants, and we surveyed to find out how the impact of digital literacy and new learning approaches could enhance the sustainability of lifelong learning in Sri Lanka. And I must say, it's a good attempt to assist the students, especially during the pandemic situation. So hope we will be able to go ahead with more approaches in the near future after analyzing the current trends, right? So actually all this good work made us to think how best we can promote sustainable development through lifelong learning. So going ahead only with the learning process will not make any sense. So then unless we identify issues and we may make any remedies to overcome those problems. So I'm sure your hard work would no doubt help to fill that gap. So I think we had a very productive session, and thank you very much once again for your valuable work and the valuable time, right? So we'll have a big applause, at least online, to indicate that our session is productive. Thank you very much for all the participants and the authors for your valuable time once again, right? Thank you.
Professor Chamara, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very
Harsha.
much for this contribution. Thank you very much. Dear participants, now we conclude the first slot of the sessions. So the next sessions, the theme promoting sustainable development through lifelong learning will begin on 12 p.m. Please log into the particular Zoom link and thank you.